Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with Jasmin Savoy Brown. She currently can be seen playing Allison Adams on the ABC legal drama For the People, but you may also know her as Evangeline from The Leftovers, or Annie from the TV series Love, or Amelia Bassano from the series Will. We had a great chat about her love for travel, her move from Springfield, Oregon to LA when she became an actress, and much more. Hope you enjoy. Morning.
How's it going?
It's going great. Hopefully you're having a great day so far.
So far I am.
I just got to watch the first couple of season 2 episodes of For the People, where you play Allison Adams, and really fun Shondaland legal drama. Can you talk a little bit about the audition process for that and getting on board that show? If I'm remembering correctly, your role was recast after the pilot. Was it a different audition process than usual?
No, the audition process was the same. It just happened very quickly. I guess I haven't... Actually, I guess every time I book something, it's been a really fast process, so it's not been unusual for me, but just it was unusual, just generally speaking, because I auditioned for the role just like I would any other time. I had a call back and a chemistry read, and then from the time that I booked it to the time we started shooting was less than 2 weeks. So it was just a lot of research and memorizing and studying that I had to do in a very short amount of time, and it was a bit stressful and intimidating. But fortunately, the cast is super lovely and kind, and they were welcoming and made it really easy for me to adjust to being on the show.
Did you have to do anything particularly different in trying to research for that quickly? Did it cause you to adjust your process?
I didn't really change it. I just had to just very much concentrate it. Like normally I wouldn't spend all day, every day for 2 weeks straight researching, and that's basically what I did. That became all I did for those 2 weeks, was reading and listening to podcasts and watching videos on YouTube or documentaries. It was like boot camp, kind of.
How did that compare to getting into like an actual historical character as you were in Will?
Right. That was just a long period of time that I spent studying. That also happened very quickly. I was on the flight on like a Thursday. I arrived in Wales on a Friday and started shooting on a Monday. So once the first few scenes I shot, I definitely did not feel prepared. But then I was in Wales for 5 months or whatever, however long it was. And I was reading books about this person and discussing who she was with the people on set and some people that were historians. And that's such a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I guess the process isn't that different. It's just that when it's a real person, the feeling is I have to get this right. I can't mess this up. I want to do right by this person. And when it's someone that I'm creating, there's a lot more wiggle room.
I had only, I think, tangentially heard that name, Amelia Bassano, but I didn't know some of the history on some of this. And so for me, the TNT series was a fun jumping off point to find out who some of these people were.
Totally.
How much of that backstory and such were you aware of kind of when you took the part?
I was only aware of a very little bit. I have heard, of course, everyone in the theater community or anyone who loves Shakespeare loves to hypothesize and say, oh, he was actually a team of women, or he was actually 5 different men, or whatever. And so I'd heard all these theories, but I didn't know anything about this person, about Amelia, and who she was and where she came from and how that relationship actually looked. And that was really fun to explore and dive into. And I wish we had had more time, more than one season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like an Amelia miniseries would not be
Oh,
wrong
that'd be
to pull
amazing.
off. Uh,
Let's pitch that.
right. So I can't imagine spending. I mean, I think 5 months in Wales would be absolutely fantastic, but it's also got to be a long way from home. Was it odd being that far away, or was it basically the same as being stuck in Austin doing leftovers? Or
Oh yeah. I see. I just love traveling, and that was part of the appeal of why I even wanted to do that job. Like, obviously, I wanted to play this character and explore this part of history, but also it's like a free trip to the UK. Sign me up. So I was stoked to be there. I got to go to Paris while I was there, and I spent some time in London, and then just little neighboring cities near Cardiff where we were shooting. It was winter, and there's hardly any sunlight there in the winter. Like, the sun rises super late and sets super early, and it was very rainy. So there were times it was a bit depressing, but overall, I have no problem being away from home.
I kind of found it funny. I'm based in Austin, so I found it funny
I
that
love Austin.
there's a subplot on For the People this season of a character being stuck
Yeah,
in Texas. I really
it's
want
pretty
I really
hilarious.
want to record the rant from the pilot or from the season premiere where he just yells about like the line about
The barbecue
barbecue and
line.
a mustache competition and like, oh
Yeah, and the
God,
bass.
like especially since South by just happened. Um,
Right.
can you talk a little bit about going from Springfield, Oregon to LA and what it was like to really make that declaration of I'm putting both feet in. We're doing this.
Yeah, it was very, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh, man, I can't think of the word, but it was just a very exciting, freeing, like it felt like coming home to myself a little bit, which might sound silly, but this is something I always wanted to do, and to finally put it out there and make that step, which really was just filling my car with all of my stuff and driving and finding a place on Craigslist. It was just so exciting. I felt like an act of self-love in a sense. And the transition was a mix, because there was a bit of culture shock in a good way and in a bad way. Like, Oregon is just so white and pretty red. I grew up in a blue pocket, but just everyone thinks very much the same. And to come to LA, where it's completely the opposite of that, there's so many people, so many different ways of thinking, so many different approaches to life, was exciting and a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I grew up in rural Northeast Texas and now live in a blue pocket in my marginally purple state. But yeah, so I definitely understand the culture shock
That
there.
transition. Yeah.
Even just being in a city that's of a size that people stop caring as much about what each other are up to,
Yeah.
can be
It's
freeing.
nice.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you've enjoyed about For the People? It's a very from the episodes that I've gotten to watch, it appeals to me in a very hard on its sleeve. The passion of, I don't know, the reason I liked in college, I took a course where we read Supreme Court justice writings, and I remember being like, wow,
Cool.
ladies can really write. Like, I don't know why that struck me as odd. Of course they can write. But it's just fantastic, passionate, like, wow, this is why I never thought I'd care about rules.
Right.
Has there been anything so far on the show that really kind of keeps you excited about coming to work for something beyond just the paycheck or the craft?
Oh yeah. Well, the script, I feel like the writing on the show is so smart. Like, the plots and the storylines and the relationships, but also these monologues that everyone has, these closing arguments, and I love everything that they give to Kate, to Susanna Flood, who plays Kate. Her character is just so complex and interesting, and the words that we get to say and explore are just so juicy and fun. And also, I really, really love my cast. That's not always the case. I've been lucky to be on shows with great people, and this is just the epitome of that. Like, there's, it's just like any other work environment. There's often someone or a couple people you don't like, and I can genuinely say that that's not the case on this show. And every day I show up, no matter who I'm working with, I'm just so happy to be there, and it makes those 5 a.m. call times a lot easier to bear when I know I'll be in good company. And yeah, it's just the most wonderful time working on this show.
What's been your most surprising thing you've discovered in the course of developing a professional acting career? Is it what you expected when you first stepped into a drama class when you were a kid, or first stepped onto a stage?
No, it's actually, at least at the plate, it's kind of changing. When you start out, it's a lot less creative than you thought. Like the first few, or at least when I thought, the first few auditions I went to, when it's just for 1 or 2 lines, I want it said in the exact way and delivered at the exact time, and there's not much creativity there. And then as you get used to being on set, and it just depends on the director you have, but generally on these more procedural type shows, it's just quick, in and out, say it like this. There's just not too much room for exploration. But as my career has grown, and as I'm like now a series regular on this show, there's much more room for that. But I definitely miss theater, because there's just from an actor's perspective, there's nothing like it. It's so free. Once the curtain goes up, you're on your own, and your director can't tell you what to do or what not to do. And I really miss that freedom, and that's something that I want to do again very soon, is get on stage. But it is also a fantastic, lovely career path. It's just not as creative as I thought it was going to be.
I hadn't considered it that way, but yeah, you are showing up to fulfill a bunch of other people's kind of need for the role, or need from the writer, or where the director needs you to stand, or various things. And so then it becomes finding the creativity within that. And I have to remind myself that, and that can be fun. It's like, you're in this box now. How do you have a good time in this box? But it's just not what I expected. I remember one of the first things I went to art school for painting, and one of the first things that they pointed out to us was, just being told make an art is actually kind of a horrifying concept. Like, of what shape? Do you need a sculpture? What?
Right.
And they were like, no, all right, paint this on this size canvas, and then you find yourself with it, kind of in your interaction with those boundaries.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Enjoy the Austin life.
I will. The traffic's clearing back out. South by's over. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Good. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @tvdudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.